The number one problem with capturing an organization's processes is displaying these complex processes in an understandable way. Just like a language, the more people who are fluent in the mechanics of process mapping, the less chance of a breakdown in communication. So, let's look at two approaches to process mapping: top-down and bottom-up. When using a top-down approach, the higher level processes tend to look quite straightforward, but then as you drill down into the lower levels, things can get a little bit tricky. Similarly, from a bottom-up approach, the individual processes tend to concentrate only on one or two roles per department, and the complexity tends to be limited. However, once these are put together, the complexity grows as more roles and departments get involved. And what about the process mapping itself? What kind of complexity is rational to expect? In a linear process, where there are no decision points and only one output from each activity, it is easy to see where you are in the process flow. Unfortunately, life is not as clean cut as that, and most processes end up with multiple decision points, two or more outcomes, and some activities have multiple outputs. It is at this point that process mapping can stall, as both mappers and users become bogged down in the complexity. Now, if you add in drill downs from the activities, then the complexity gets even worse. So, how do we process map without the tricky trouble? Following a trail through a set of process maps is a bit like following a sat-nav in a car. You can see what is coming up in the very near future, and you can see where you are within the boundaries of the view on the screen, but you cannot see where in the overall journey you are. So long as you are heading in the right direction and will end up at your destination, you're probably not too concerned where you are at any particular time. However, if you are looking at process improvement or following a process flow with multiple iterative branches that need to be navigated, then knowing where you are at any point is important. This is where we get to levels in process mapping. Several of the organizations I have worked with have either consciously or unconsciously arranged their maps into 3 or 4 levels. Level 1, top level end-to-end maps tend to be fairly simple with few branches. Level 2 provides more detail than the end-to-end maps and covers a horizontal flow through an organization. The complexity level can be high, as they will involve multiple departments and handovers, possibly with iterations, branches, and multiple outputs. Level 3. These tend to be aimed at individual users and have a lower degree of complexity than the level above. Level 4. Bottom level maps. These tend to be used for those processes that get reused in multiple process flows, and as such can be quite simple. In some respect, this can be helpful, particularly if the mapper has used drill downs. The users can always go up a level to see where they are. However, there are instances where it is very easy to get lost. A good example of these instances is where a map is used by multiple processes such as review flow, or there are processes that flow over multiple maps and interact with another complex process. Here the process flow might start off on one map and then at a decision point switch to another map before going back to the original map further up the process. It's all well and good establishing the complexity, but what about the solution? Ideally, as the user follows a set of process maps, there should be something like a breadcrumb trail or even a frame on the map showing a large-scale view of the end-to-end process and where you have highlighted. Now that's one way of doing it, but what if the solution is not available? My solution is to use the process map names to give an indication of where I am in a complex process flow by starting off at the top level map and adding a number to each, calling each activity phase 1 activity title, phase 2 activity title, etc. Drill downs from each activity can then take that number as per this example shown here, here, and here. This is not the ideal solution, as it gets rather cumbersome with more than 4 levels and does not handle links out to reusable processes, such as a standard review process. But where there is no software-based solution, it is better than nothing. If you've just suddenly caught the process mapping bug and would like a more in-depth explanation so you can put muscles on your business processes, download our 21-page report on all things process mapping, which you can find at the top right hand of the video now. And as always, thanks very much for watching. Also, please share if you care.